Welcome to Greg and Mortis's Little World of Horror. This is a special little video that I'm going to do. This is a horror movie tag video. Thanks to the honor of Cody Cooper. Cody, this is for you, my man. And also Moods, man. What's up, Moods? Let me turn my volume down on my phone here, but old Moods just done his. So basically, Cody started, or I don't know who really started this, but he had 15 questions that he wanted people to answer. And then, Moose, you added one to number 16, and if get to the end of the 16, I'll add number 17 here. But basically just 15, 16 questions, I guess kind of to get to know who we are a little bit. So, Greg and Mortis here. Let's get started right away. Question number one is, what is your favorite horror film? Anybody that knows Greg and Mortis knows, without a shadow of a doubt, my number one horror film of all time is, of course, Halloween. Bar none, the best. For me, the best horror film ever made. For me, the best movie ever made. I mean, nothing will ever touch Halloween for me. It's 1978 John Carpenter's film, so no-brainer. Everybody knows Greg and Mortis knows it is Halloween. Question number two. Who is your favorite scream queen? Now, I've got honorable mention. Mood, you named it. It's Tiffany Shepis. I love Tiffany Shepis in all the flicks. I've got her in multiple movies. I think she is definitely, I guess for me, the modern scream queen. She definitely fits that title. But my number one scream queen would always be Jamie Lee Curtis. Love her. She's awesome. So, nothing else with that. Question number three. What subgenre of horror film do you like best? Obviously, I'm a slasher fan. Loving Halloween and loving that whole 1980s vibe of slasher films. I love all kinds of horror, but definitely slasher is my go-to. I just like to see those villains that you know, stalk you, kill you, kind of deal. Yes, I like zombie films. Yes, I like creature films, all that, but definitely slashers is my number one pick as far as my subgenre. Question number four. What type of horror film do you not like? That's a tough question. Much like Moods, man, I'm going to you, buddy. Much like you, I love all horror. I mean, it can be a really shitty movie, and I've seen a lot of shitty movies in my time. It could be mainstream or independent, man. I've seen a ton, and they have been shitty. But for me to say I hate a horror film, it's kind of hard. If I had to put in a nutshell, I'm definitely not a big fan of the found footage films, and I know it's a cop-out, but, you know, out of all the genres of horror, I do not get into the handheld where they take the camera and they're doing this and they're shaking it and it's making me dizzy as hell, and I get sick trying to watch a movie, feel like I need to take a Dramamine. So for me, that type of horror film I'm not the biggest fan of. So I hope that answers that question. Question number five. If you were a scream queen from any movie, who would you be and why? Now that's tough. I mean, it really is. I mean, I could look at say Adrienne King from Friday the 13th original. I really liked her as the heroine, and how that, you know, she was the innocent, but she fights back at the end. I would love to be that style character that is, you know, sticking up for themselves. My natural choice would be Jamie Lee Curtis in 1978's Halloween, because I would have loved to have been a part of that movie and had been the one that helped create that franchise. So for me, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis, 1978 Halloween, I would have loved to have been her role for that movie. But in real life, if it was a scenario, you know, in real life, I would probably kind of like to be, you know, Adrienne King in Friday the 13th, knowing that I fought back in the end. And or maybe even Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. You know, I want to be a fighter. I don't want to be one that's just going to stand there and take it. I want to fight back. So I hope that answers your question. I'm going to throw out Jamie Lee Curtis, 1978 Halloween, just for the fact that I'd like to have been a part of the magic of that movie. Number 6. What is your favorite horror villain and why? There again, Michael Myers, hands down. Reason being is, to me, he is the perfect killer. He, all the way from his mask that's blankless, that white face, that could be anybody. I mean, obviously, anybody could be under it, but it was those eyes, it was his movement, it was the fact that, he had a mission, and no matter what, he held on to it, and he took care of business, man. Michael Myers, greatest villain as far as, horror villain. Number 7, what is the worst horror villain and why? That's tough. I thought about this question for a little while, and I can't even think of one, honestly. I mean, even in the crappiest movies, in the most horrible horror films, the villains always seem to kind of be okay. It's usually the plot or the cinematography or whatever that's crappy, but the villains are always kind of like cool no matter what. So I can't answer that one. I really don't have off the top of my head a worst horror villain. Yeah, I'm just calling a 0 on that one. I don't know on that one. What is the worst horror... just answer that. Number 8. What is the worst horror film you have seen and why? I'm going to pull out, and anybody that's listening to Land of the Creeps knows this. I have said this a billion times. This movie right here, fans, Carnivore. This was the crappiest movie I have ever seen, and I don't even know why I still have it. Looking at the cover, you think, man, this is awesome. It's a creature flick. It would be amazing. But this movie was so freaking horrible. Everything from the script was stupid. The creature was horrible. The acting was atrocious. I mean, to the point that, there's microphone booms hanging down. The editing sucked. I mean, this movie, and this one was put out by, I don't even know, Key DVD. And I was trying to see, directed by Kenneth Motter, distributed by 20th Century Fox. But yeah, this movie right here is total garbage. That has always been my worst horror film because of all the reasons I mentioned. There is nothing entertaining about that film. Number 9. Which horror film do you think is overrated? I'll probably get bashed for this, but I still have to say I think the Blair Witch Project was and still is to an extent, way overrated. It did create a whole subgenre of the handheld videos, and we ended up with Paranormal Activities and a multitude of other films because of Blair Witch. But I'm just not a big fan of that film, and for me, it kind of, I know there's fans out there of it, but as a standpoint, as a viewer watching it, it just never really delivered. I mean, it was just a bunch of shots put in to kind of look realistic, but there was only one little small payoff at the very end of that movie, the person in the corner. But other than that, that film just bored the crap out of me, and really wanted to like it. And there is some moments that I like, but overall, I just think it was so overrated, and I still think it's overrated today. So, definitely, for me, Blair Witch Project. Number 10. What film do you think is underrated? Tough choice there. I can name movies off I think are underrated, and then you fans are going to be like, oh, God, dude, that's not underrated. But this is my video, damn it, and I'll put what I want. I think one of the most underrated films is the, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, the Leslie Vernon. I really think that movie is amazing. I really love it for a slasher film, even though it has comedy. But you got the cameos of Kane Hodder and different ones. Robert Englund. I really think that film deserves a lot more credit than it gets. I just really love it. Leslie Vernon, man, I'm telling you, amazing film. Number 11, 10, 1. Number 11, do you like horror spoof movies? I actually do. But much like you, Moose, I actually loved a lot of the 80s spoof films. I liked Dead and Loving It. I loved the movies, kind of in that scenario. They were funny, but yet entertaining. So yeah, those kind, Young Frankenstein is one of my all-time favorite spoof movies. I did get into a few of the scary movies. I thought they were okay to an extent. They can keep continuing. Haunted House, and they're not so good, but but that's what I would say. Yes and no. Yes, I do like the more of the 80s. Yes, I kind of like some of the newer ones, but no, at the same time, I think there's so many of them out there that are getting to be so much. I just love a good movie, so yes and no to that question. Number 12. What is your favorite horror film series? Obviously Halloween. Cannot wait until September 23rd to get that Blu-ray box set, the deluxe edition I'm getting. I've got so many different versions and different ones of the Halloween. I've got every one of them on DVD, of course, every one of them on Blu-ray, every one of them but 2 on VHS, multiple copies of different ones of the DVDs. So, Halloween will always be my favorite series. Absolutely love it. Honorable mentions, I definitely love Friday the 13th. I like the Scream series. I like the Elm Streets to an extent. So yeah, that kind of series. Number 13. Name 13 horror villain movies. I'm going to do villains because I think that's kind of what the question's asking. And it's tough, but I would definitely put in... and these are not in no particular order. I'm just thinking of them off the top of my head. I would definitely Jason Voorhees would be one. The Tall Man from Phantasms 2. Throw in the Leprechaun as 3. Number 4 or fourth one would be probably, of course, Freddy Krueger. 5, and maybe I should write these down. I don't know. Number 5, I definitely like the character of Pumpkinhead, even though, could you consider him a villain? Yeah, but he's a creature, but still, Pumpkinhead for sure. Michael Myers would be my number 1 favorite of all time. I think at 6. 7 would be Scream, Ghostface, and I'm trying to look around. Leatherface, of course, would be in there. Number 8. Otis, absolutely Otis. Number 9. Number 10 would be Captain Spaulding from Devil's Rejects, House of 1,000 Corpse. Norman Bates from Psycho, so I think that's 11 or 12, and I'm losing count now. I actually really did. Chucky would definitely be in there, and the Leprechaun from the Leprechaun series. There you go. I think that's 13. If it's not, I'm sorry, but there you go. But Michael Myers is the number 1 villain. What horror film, this is number 14, what horror film best represents what horror is? And that's kind of a tough question there. For me, a horror film is something that delivers in so many different ways. It delivers in a scare. It also delivers in kind of a intellectual, makes you think. So for me, a horror film that best represents that, of course, Halloween. I'm saying it again because of the whole, you never knew where Michael Myers was, per se. And, he was in the shadows. He was in your bedroom. He was everywhere. But to me, a really, really scary horror film would be one like The Strangers. Would be one much like those style flicks, Inside or even Martyrs. Those kind is them movies where... And I've said this on podcasts before, and I stick to it, man. You want to scare Gregor Mortis, stand outside my window and let me see you out there. That scares the shit out of me. Knowing that somebody is staring at me and I don't really know it, and then I turn and there they are. Now that shit scares me. That's real. So I guess kind of moods, I'm kind of taking you up on that on the home invasion movies, man. The Strangers nailed that. And even with the movies like... When a Stranger Calls, and when those style flicks, man, those really get to me, or Black Christmas, because of the fact that it's so realistic. It could happen. I mean, am I scared of Pumpkinhead? No, because I don't expect no creature to be raised out of the ground from a pumpkin and look like it's, 40,000 foot tall creature is going to eat me alive. But I can see somebody dressing in a Halloween mask and stalking me outside my house and making their way in. That shit scares me. So for me, a horror film that best represents what horror is would be that style flick. The Strangers, the When a Stranger Calls, or Halloween, or those kind of flicks, man. Definitely those are what I think best represents what horror is. Number 15, favorite horror remake and why. For that one, that's tough too, in a way. Definitely the first one that comes to my mind, and I haven't given a lot of these questions a whole ton of a thought, that's kind of just there. But for me, the favorite remake would obviously be John Carpenter's The Thing. Man, what an amazing remake. Such a classic film. A lot of number of listeners and fans of horror, that's their number one film of all time. So, yeah, definitely my favorite horror remake would be The Thing. Now, if you go modern, for me, I really like the newest Carrie remake with Chloe Moretz. I thought that was great. I really enjoyed that one. I really enjoyed the Evil Dead remake that just came out. So those two kind of modern. But for me, my favorite horror remake, I think, would definitely have to be The Thing. Then number 16, and this is Mood's one. What's your poison of choice when watching a horror film? And you was talking about your alcoholic beverage. I don't drink a ton of alcohol, but when I do, if I'm watching a horror movie and I'm drinking, it's going to be a Miller Lite. I'm going to be chugging me a beer. I'm typically more of just sit down, watch a film, eat some ice cream kind of guy. But, every once in a while I'll pop a beer, pop the top and drink it. So for me, it would be a Miller Lite. So that's the 16 questions. Now I'm going to add one question to this. And what could it be? I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think in my head, because a lot of these questions would be ones that I would absolutely want to know. Maybe what would be... Wow, this is tough. Alright, for number 17, so whoever gets tagged on this, I'm tagging everybody in the world, so all my YouTubers, man, you're all tagged. Number 17 would be... how do you prefer to watch a horror movie? And with that, what I'm saying is, do you prefer lights out, volume loud, kind of, or do you need a light on in the background? So how do you like to watch your horror movies? Complete darkness, with a lot of sound, or you more have a little light off to the side or not? Easy question, number 17. For me, I like it dark and I like it loud. So there you go. So this is my horror movie tag video. Thanks to Cody Cooper and Moods who's kept it on, and there's a lot of people doing it. So I love these things. Let's continue doing it. And man, it's just a blast. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Definitely got a few more videos coming up. If you haven't subscribed to me, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Comment below. And stay tuned this weekend for my movie review, and I'll do something else too. I don't know yet. But with that, this is Greg Mortis and my little world of horror movie tag video. Until next time, peace!